Hello guys. First of all, I really want to thank you all for answering all my questions that I ask you. And I have been reading your answer, and that's why today we are going to launch our first machine learning trading robots. For people who are not aware about what is machine learning, essentially, if I have to resume it into few words, the machine learning is the concept of letting the machine developing and making and giving you a bespoke model instead of asking to the human. For instance, let's take the example of the RSI. The RSI or the Bollinger Band. The concept of the RSI is based on a predefined mathematical model which is going to be used for any type of application. You can use it for crypto, you can use it for US market, for instance, you can use it on Forex. No matter like on which field are you going to use it, that's an indicator which is going to work. But some side part of this indicator is because that's something which is very mainstream and something which is very general. I'm not here to condemn like general technical indicators because I'm the first one of using them. I'm not like against the trading indicators, and even more because there is so many people who are using this type of indicator that at the end of the day, like that's something which is very powerful because finance and trading is nothing more than math psychology. You can take a look if you want at the history of trading. You will see that's nothing more than math psychology, which means you have to understand how people are gonna behave, which means if you act like other people, you are sure to win. That's why this type of people can be very performing. But today, what we are going to do, we are going to implement a model which is going to be very, very different. The model that we are going to implement today is based on machine learning. I'm going to type ML for machine learning, but you will understand the concept. And the type of algorithm that we are going to use for machine learning, because machine learning is one part of the AI family, which means that the concept of letting the machine modelizing instead of creating ourselves the model, we just ask a model by the machine. Yes, and from the machine learning family, we are going to use a classification model. If I have to give you a quick example on how classification algorithm is looking like, the goal of classification algorithm is to clusterize your data in order to detect a moving pattern. Let's take a class, for instance. In this class, you have here you have like two axes of data. Here, what I'm going to present you is what we call binary classification. Binary classification. Yeah, you have some data, some data points. Let's say here you have like a bunch of data which are here and a bunch of data like, let's say you have your data which are like disposed by this way. What the classification algorithm gonna do? The classification algorithm is going to draw a boundary between these two clusters in order to define, and let's say in this case we are going to define this cluster has high performing, let's say if that's students, and here is like the grade plus the appreciation from the teacher, let's say the behavior here, like if we are talking about a sociological approach, behavior, grade, and grade. And based on that, what does the algorithm gonna do? It's gonna draw a boundary in order to check two clusters, and after in the future, once you're gonna get like, let's say a new data point, which let's say gonna be here, the algorithm gonna say, okay, this point belongs to this cluster because it's above the boundary. And let's say if you have like another data point which is here, okay, this data point is here, that means this data point, even though he has a good grade because he has a bad behavior, let's say this data point belonging to this cluster, which means he have a high chance to fail. If you want to see a classification algorithm in real life, so in our daily life, the classification algorithms are widely used in various approaches. The first one is medical diagnosis. For instance, you have like different variables. What I've shown you before, it was a binary approach, but you can have like an infinite number of variables, and you're gonna put your point within this model. Let's say this point gonna be here, this point gonna be here, this point gonna be here, and let's say, and once you're gonna get like a cluster of people who are sick, when you're gonna have like a new data point, let's say here, because all the other people in this cluster got the cancer of X, the classification algorithm gonna classify this person as the same pattern as the other, because he got the same. Let's say if this axis is the fever temperature, this axis is the cough, this axis is tiredness, and all of that are different variables. And one of the main applications is for medical diagnosis. You also have it in order to detect spam, is what, for instance, Google is using for detecting spam, is what Netflix is using for recommending you a movie. That's gonna check people who are within your cluster, and that's going to recommend you the same movie as other people in your cluster are watching. Another application, for instance, can be customer segmentation and writing. And today, now that we have understood roughly what is the concept of classification algorithm, which means to clusterize people and to detect the same pattern, now the question is how to use the classification algorithm in order to help us in our trading decision. Classification algo. How to use classification algo in order to help us in our trading decision. So how we are going to use our algorithm in this case? Let's say we have our return. Let's say we have our return here about the stock exchange, and let's say we have an average return of 0.2%. What we're gonna do within this example, we are going to plot period per period, like the average return, and we are going to check, and we are going to clusterize our points based on the boundaries that we're gonna draw. Like the boundaries, I'm gonna go more in details about the different boundaries that we're gonna take, and we will check what, and we're gonna let the algorithm modelize what is the pattern with this bull market data point and this bear market data point, which means based on that, when the market gonna make a movement, it's gonna draw a new data point. Let's say a new data point here. Oh, okay, because that's on the same cluster as the less performing period, the computer gonna tell you, okay, you must sell. Whilst by another case, let's say you have new data point here, like the algorithm gonna tell you, okay, we're on a range, we don't have like a buy indicators, which means that you should not do anything. And let's say you have a point which is here, and that's gonna be updated minutes per minute. And let's say you have a point which is here, so that's gonna tell you, okay, you have to buy the stock. And that's why that's gonna be widely used in day trading, is because like you have many points, and like your algorithm can be much more active, but I'm gonna be back about it after. So I hope you understood the mathematical concept which is behind, which means we are talking about clusterizing the data from the market and let the algorithm draw mathematical equation to understand the market. Now that you have understood the mathematical intuition behind the classification algorithm, mathematical intuition, what we are going to do, we are going to start by deploying our data processing model. For the data processing, I already drew a draft which is gonna help us to understand how we are going to work. The model is gonna be divided into 5 different steps. The first step, we are going to query market data. which means that we're gonna start by having our market data. After that, once we're gonna get our market data, we are going to process with data cleaning, because you will see that one of the columns gonna need like some quick little bit of cleaning. That's not gonna be very complex parts, the data cleaning. That's gonna be something very quick. That's just gonna be one column to fix. Once we're gonna have cleaned our data, we will add some calculated field, which is gonna be used in order to make our model more robust, and much more. We are going also to index our value, but I'm gonna explain you afterwards why we should index and how to index our values. And once we're gonna be good with that, we will define the target value, which means like we are going to create a class which is going to say, okay, this pattern is good, this pattern is range, and this pattern is negative. And for good, we're gonna choose 1, for same 0, and for negative -1. And once we're gonna define the target value, we'll divide our data between a training data set and a test data set. And we will create an algorithm based on the training data set, which means we are going to train our model based on the data, and we're gonna ask the machine learning algorithm to draw a specific mathematical sigmoid equation. For people who get used to mathematics, you can understand what is a sigmoid, which means that's going to be an equation that's going to be defined based on the data that we have. We are going to draw to ask the algorithm to draw an equation in order to have the best prediction as possible. After that, we will take our training model without the targets and ask the model to predict the market, if the market is moving well or not. And we're gonna compare that with the target, with the initial target, which are the real data. That's gonna come from here. That's going here. And once we're gonna get our values, we are going to draw our confusion matrix and our F-score in order to evaluate our model. And once we're gonna be satisfied with the parameters, we're gonna let the algorithm trading live. As I told you, that's gonna be a very long video, but that's something that I never seen on YouTube or anything about this type of algorithm, which means that I'm going to, that's why I'm going to divide this video into 2 parts. And that's something which I believe gonna be very useful for you. Let's say if you are going on interview or anything, for you to understand the concept behind and to deploy it, I believe that's something which can be very, very useful. Okay, cool. Now that we have defined our plan, if you remember, query, live market data, data processing, algorithm creation, predict the signals, and live performance, we can start. Now that we have seen our plan to develop our algorithm, we can start by importing market data. But before that, we have to define the libraries that we'll need in order to perform well. The libraries that we'll need in our case gonna be 5 different algorithms. The first one gonna be for data manipulation, and that's gonna be the usual pandas and numpy. Pandas plus numpy. After that, that's gonna be the library for data visualization, data visual. And in this case, we will need Plotly. For our live data, we will call Yahoo Finance API in order to get live market data. I have created one video that I'm gonna try to put here on YouTube if you want to go much more further on how to get live market data and further information. On top of that, we will need a library for machine learning performance and algorithm. Essentially, you can either like develop the machine learning by yourself, but you're gonna need like at least 20 lines of code. Otherwise, you can use a machine learning library which is already providing all the different algorithms, which is scikit-learn, we're just gonna have to redefine the parameters in order to run the algorithm. That's gonna be, so we need pandas numpy, plotly, uFinance scikit, and plus for the trading purposes, we will need talib. Talib, I'm going to put you a link below in order how to download talib. Talib is a library which is giving you directly all your trading indicators without having to deploy the mathematical algorithm. Okay guys, now that we have defined the different libraries that we need in order to deploy our machine learning model, we can start with the first step, which is import libraries which are needed. So as required, we will start by importing numpy and pandas. After that, we will need to download plotly for data visualization. Plotly for data visualization. Let me type data visualization. Data visualization. After that, we will need our library to import our market data. This is going to be uFinance. Now we got how to manipulate the data, visualize the data, how to get live market data. For our trading technical indicator, we are going to download talib. And for the machine learning libraries, we will need 8 of them. Each one gonna have like specific purposes. I'm not going to download directly scikit because it's gonna be too heavy for the model and it may take a lot of time to run. That's why I'm just going to download support vector machine SVM. That's gonna be the algorithm that we are going to develop. And more specifically, we are going to use support vector classifier. We're gonna be back on it in the second video. I'm going to download standard scalar randomized search that's going to be to optimize our algorithm, and time series split that's going to be to split our data sets when we have, in the case where we have time series. And on top of that, we will need the confusion matrix and classification report in order to check the performance of our algorithm statistically speaking, which means we'll draw our confusion matrix and classification report. About the classification report, what we're gonna draw more specifically, that's gonna be the F-score that we're gonna get from it. When I talk about F-score, that doesn't something that remind you anything, that's fine, because that's very term for statistical people, for people who are quants or data scientists or in actuarial world. But yeah, that's something which gonna give like statistic information about the performance of your model. So now that you have defined, you can start by downloading Tesla market data. I'm going to use Tesla as an example, but you can use whatever you want. So just as a quick reminder on how uFinance market data is working, essentially, uFinance, you have like multiple ways of using uFinance, but we are going to use the function ufinance.download. This way, and within the function download, you're gonna have multiple arguments that you're gonna put, but you're gonna have one mandatory argument that's gonna be the ticker. And here in our case, we are going to develop our algorithm to trade on Tesla. But that's gonna work well if you want to trade on the S&P 500. S&P 500 is the 500 most important company in the US, or that's gonna work well as well if you want to focus on Amazon, or let's say on an index, let's say on the US 30 as well. But so here in our example, it's gonna be Tesla, which means we're gonna need to specify the ticker, and after that, we can either specify a start plus end date. Start and end date equal. Otherwise, you can also specify, the second option is to specify the period. Let's say I want the data for the last 1 day, which means period equal 1 day, and the interval of time. And for instance here, because we're building a model for day trading, that's going to be 1 minute. And in our case, we are going to choose this choice, and that's what we are going for. Okay, let's go on our model and let's call the data using uFinance yf.download. If you type shift, you will see that's going faster. up, and you tap shift plus enter, you're gonna have the information. As you can see, the first argument is the ticker. That's what we're gonna put through up, and we're going to ask to print. Yes, if you execute, you will see that's gonna give me like the data for Tesla over a long period of time, but just to remind you, that's a model for day trading. Okay, that means that we need to specify the period equal up 1 day. Okay, and the interval equal 1 minute. Okay, let's go, let's execute. So cool. As you can see, the market just opened 29 minutes ago. What we are going to use, I think it's going to be more interesting, is to use 2 days. Okay, cool. We have the data from yesterday and the data for today. We have like much more data, because otherwise if you are just using the data for today, that's not gonna be enough. Yeah, if you take a look, that's gonna be, we're gonna have just like 29 rows, which is not gonna be enough. That's why. So what we are going, in order to have enough data, we are going for 2 days. Okay, we have our data. 410 rows, 6 columns. Okay, perfect. Yeah, now that we have imported our market data, we can just like quickly visualize in order to take a look how the data look like. Just to let you know, you have like the code below. I'm just gonna copy and paste the code, but you have the code just right below, and you can just like come, copy and paste, and enjoy yourself. Enjoy yourself for coding. Up. Yes, just forgot one part. Yes, you need to. I'm going to go through the code with you. Up. Yeah, we start by declaring the figure, fig equal go.figure. After that, we will add a trace, which means like we are going to add a candlestick. If you want to go further about data visualization for finance, I can recommend you a course if you're interested. Yeah, but also, on my first video, I'm going much more into details about the data visualization. I'm going much quicker now, but you can just feel free to take a look at my video about data visualization. You will have like much more information. So yeah, the first argument gonna be declaring the figure, and you are always ending by showing the figure. And in between, what you just have to add everything that you want. Here, what we want is adding the trace. Go.candlestick and having the trace, adding the titles. Here we have Tesla price, blah blah blah. Here we have the and here what we are going to do here is to add like a dictionary. Let's take a look. Oh, okay, we have like a big blank here because of the time, but yeah, let's make a quick focus. Yeah, here how Tesla is looking like, Tesla shares is looking like. Okay, I feel like everything looks good at the moment. I think we can pursue to the next step. If we go back on our plan, right now we have just solved the first task. Yeah, which means like now we got our market data, and we just like we double check that everything looks good, and we double check and we confirm that visually speaking that there is nothing wrong, which means that this first step is clean. Now we can go through the data processing. If you remember well, the data processing is in 4 steps. First of all, data cleaning. I will explain you why. After that, we will need to go through adding variables and adding more specifically technical indicators in order to make the model much more robust. Because if you have just open, close, high and low price, the model gonna build a model based on that, but that's not gonna be robust enough. And furthermore, that's not index value, which means you will see that's much more interesting to give value to the algorithm which are indexed, and to give technical indicators. That's gonna make it like give him like more information about the market, and that's gonna increase the performance. If you want, probably at the end we can just like test by just giving that, or by giving both indicators plus our initial data. So let's get to our first step and prepare and process the data in order to have the best data set as possible for the next step, which is going to be the algorithm creation. Okay, let's go back on our model. Up now we got Tesla price, data cleaning. So let's take a look at the data. If you remember, let's take 1 day up. Yeah. If you take a look at the data, as you can see, sometimes for the volume column, you have a value of 0. That's something which can be very annoying because the algorithm gonna believe that the volume traded was 0, whilst it just like sometimes just Yahoo Finance need little bit of time to upload the volume, and mainly when you do live trading. For instance, if you run that at the end of the day, this value gonna change and you're gonna have like the real value of volume traded, but sometimes you just have like a lag, and that's something that we must correct before to start even adding our trading indicators. Okay, let's start with little bit of data cleaning, but otherwise all the other columns are perfect, and that's why I love using Yahoo Finance, is because you have a very clean data set. Okay, let's start with the data cleaning. Okay, what we will do, we just like drop the let's go back, let's re-upload the data in order to have 2 days. Okay, okay, perfect. What you're gonna have to do, you're gonna have to go in our data set and to drop from our dataset df, where df volume, which refers to the column volume, equal to 0. Up, and we're gonna have to index it. Perfect. I believe everything gonna look good now. Let's execute. Okay, yes, that means that 2 rows have been dropped. And if you take a look, that means like in yesterday data, you didn't have any value of volume which is equal to 0, because at the end of the day, like this issue is fixed by Yahoo Finance. It's just like a matter of data which have not like shared correctly. Okay, now we have cleaned our data. We can say that the data cleaning process is done. And we can add our first technical indicators, and that's gonna be the end of this first video. But that's still gonna be a little bit technical. That's why I don't want to give you too much in this video, because I don't want to lose your attention. Let's add our trading indicators to end this first part. We'll start with the RSI. To make a quick recap about what is the RSI, let's clear all up. Essentially, the RSI is a momentum indicator. For people who know what is momentum, momentum is a word which is used in so many fields, and that's a momentum indicator which is going to tell you if a shares or an index is overbought or oversold. And based on that, you're gonna have like you're gonna understand like if that's the time or not to buy. Let's say if you have like an RSI which looks like that, here you can see up you have like period of when the RSI is overbought, and we are going to make like the correlation with the market in order to check if you can see visually the pattern. And here when that oversold, which means like you have to buy here and you have to sell at this moment. Sell. I'm just defining you like in very small term, and mathematically speaking, how the RSI is looking like. The RSI is looking to something this way. Up. That's gonna be something like 100 divided by 1 plus RS. RS is the relative strength. Relative strength. And what is the calculation in order to get the RS? RS is average gain over a period of n time. Average gain divided by average loss. And this average gain is over a period of n time. And here again, there's going to be the same number, n time. And that's going to be RS of n, and here RSI of n, and here of n. Yes, n times. Okay, cool. And you have two ways if you want to code this mathematical formulae. Either you can do it like manually, like in the old school days. Otherwise, we are going to take a shortcut by using Talib library. Okay, let's take a look. Let's code it with Talib. So how does that gonna looks like? It's gonna be, we are going to create a new column. Essentially, that's just a calculated field. That's why that's like a new column. That's gonna be called RSI, and RSI gonna be equal to TA dot. If you type shift, you will have like all the different indicators that you have, like ADX, you have average price, Bollinger Band, you have like so much technical indicators, MACD for the moving average, but the indicator that's gonna interest us is the RSI. And up and take a look what is between the parentheses. As you can see, how does function is working. You need to have your what they call the real, and the real is an array of values, and which means like the array of values that we are going to take, we are going to take the close column value, which means that that's gonna be we're gonna have to pass this close column, this column of values as an array. That means we are going to use NumPy to convert it as an array. And the second argument is going to be the time period. That's what we called here in this formula the value of n, the number of periods. Usually the number of periods that we are using is between 7 to 14. In our case here in this example, we are going to use 10, but we can, that's a parameter that can be moved in order to have the best machine learning model. Okay, so now let's add our column as an array. Sorry, np.array parenthesis df close dot shift 1 up. Let me check if I didn't forget any parentheses. Okay, and the second argument gonna be the time period. I don't remember how does it's written. Up, let's copy and paste time period past. Okay, equal. Let's define the number n just above. Let's say we can try with n equal 10. Up, time period equal n. Okay, up, and let's take a look at how the data frame gonna looks like. Yes, perfect. Okay, everything looks good. So let's do something. Yeah, if you, yeah. Reprise. So let's do something. Let's try with a period of 5, or let's say a period of 3. Just take a look at the data frame here. As you can see, the first value gonna be empty, and the other field gonna be calculated. Now we are taking a value of 10, which means like the 10 first rows gonna have like a RSI value of 0, because the algorithm, the calculation not gonna have like enough period of time to define an RSI. Okay, now we are good. Okay, now we have our RSI, and just before to close this part about RSI, I want to give you some content or something that I love to teach to my students in terms of data visualization, is how to put different plot on one same graph. Again, I'm going to use Plotly, and on top of that, I'm going to use Plotly Subplot, because for instance here we have our market data, and what I want to look at is how the RSI is corresponding to the market. Let's take a look. So let's start up config subplot. You have the code. You have the code below the video. You can just download it, and that's gonna be much quicker for you. I already plotted. So for the data visualization part, as you can see, it's not super easy to see, but you can roughly see some correlation between the market high and a high level of RSI. For instance, here the RSI was 90% and the market literally went down from the opening. But if you want, I have another example. I ran the RSI and the market data at the end of the 27th of August, was last Friday. And as you can see here, when we are reaching RSI over 80%, it was 1019. The market starts collapsing at 1020, which means that's quite a good indicator in order for you to have information to buy or sell. And here, let's say if you have an RSI of 25% at 1126, yes, that's exactly the moment when the market went up again and reached a high, went above 80% at 1206. And when the market went down, it was at 1206. Boom, the market went down. And that's very interesting. Even though that went above 80% at 0.5 and the market went down. That's why I was telling you that the technical indicators are very, very interesting pattern in order to trade. And that's why that's just about in terms of my psychology. Okay, cool. Yeah, now that we have plotted our RSI, and yeah, how the subplot version is working, just to make you quick information about data visualization. I might make a full video about it in order to be more specific, because I believe that's worth to spend at least 1 hour about all these details, because once you're gonna be good with it, that's gonna be a strong asset for you. But how the subplot function is working, you just have to define the number of rows or columns. Here we want 2 rows of data, and you can define the different. Let's say if you want 3 rows, you just have to define the row 8, and if you want different column, you have to define the column 8 up column width. Sorry, just copy and paste column width. Let's say if you want 30%, 30%, 30%, that's how you're gonna define it. And after that, you just have to add the trace, and on which row and which column gonna be each different trace. For instance, if you take a look at this graph, we just define the candlestick. But if you want as a subplot, the only thing that we need is just to add the row number and the column number. Exactly what we have done right here. Row 1, column 1. That's gonna be the first one here with 70% of the space. And here row 2, column 1. That's gonna be second graph with 30% of the space. That's gonna be the second argument within this dictionary. And yeah, that's as easy as that. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. That has been this first part. Now at the end of this video, we have what we have at the moment. At the moment, we started by importing market data. We imported the market data. We have cleaned the column volume. And on top of that, we have adding a first trading indicators, which is the RSI value. And in the next video, we are going to add other trading indicators. That's going to be MACD. That's going to be ADX. Yes, let's go back. Let's go through the notebook. That's going to be the moving average, the correlation coefficient, the SAR and ADX. On top of that, we will have to index our value in order to get our open, high, low, and close values indexed, and then calculate our return. And after, it's going to be a little bit more technical. I'm going to go more in depth afterwards. And mainly this part is going to be very interesting to understand how to implement signals and how to ask the algorithm to give you signals. We will draw our different arguments, and the second part is going to be much more funny and much more insightful. So now we start preparing the data in this first part. We are almost done with the second step. We are 60% done with this step, and in this next video we're gonna create algorithm, predict the signals plus evaluate it, and go for live trading evaluation of this model and to let it trade for you live whilst you are, let's say, whilst you are working or whilst you are sleeping. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to talk to you about like some specific side project that I'm developing next to YouTube channel within the five last minutes. If you're interested, for instance, to follow my trading robots, yeah, like that's a trading robot that I built on the side with Maxwell, who was one of my ex-students, and that's a robot that you can follow. If you want to have like live trade signals. I'm going to put a link in the video just right below if you want to be able to follow it. It's called Cryptop, and yeah, it's just like a robot which will send like live trading signals. Essentially, that's based on the theory that I shown you today, and just for you also to see what can be done. And on top of this video, also I want to thank our partner QUANTINSTI, which proposed me a partnership with this video. I went through their course. I spent like 5 to 10 hours through their course. I found like very interesting content, like how to trade strategies with news and tweets. Yes. If you want, below this video, I'm gonna give you like what is from myself the best course that I found on their platform. And what I really like with this platform is the fact that it's backed by people who are working in this field, and the fact that you have very advanced course, which for me, I found that like very, very interesting, because you don't have as much advanced course for algorithmic trading strategies. That's why, and I just want to thank Sandeep for this trust and trusting me and proposing me a partnership within the next series of videos that I'm going to publish on my YouTube channels. Yeah, that's something which is very cool, and that's people who are very lovely in this company. I talked with them, I had meeting with them, and I went through their platform, and that's very interesting. They have like a lot of interesting content, and mainly if you want to learn, that's a way to learn. Yeah, I'm going to put you a link that's gonna be a referral link, which means if you are using the link, I'm gonna get small percentage fees, which is nice for me. Just to present you also something that I would like to had a few years ago. And but yeah, it's not like mandatory for you to go through the link, but I really like the course, and there is like plenty of interesting content. So guys, thank you for watching this video. And yeah, the YouTube channel is literally skyrocketing, 1,570 people. I just want to tell you thank you so much. Like, that's super nice. And again, I'm giving you the Jupyter notebook just below the video. You don't need to just code everything. That's not gonna be mandatory for you. Just go below the video and download the Jupyter notebook, and you will be able to follow this video much more easier. Okay guys, see you next time, and see you next week. That's gonna be the next video gonna be released next Wednesday at 3 p.m. UK time. I hope you will enjoy it, and yeah, and you will learn some content through this type of videos. Let me know if you like it, because for me that's like a good barometer to know if I should continue this way or if I should propose something else. Thank you guys. See you.